Good morning, everyone. My name is
Morning.
Marie McAndrew. I'm the Director of Member Support for Monmouth Ocean Regional Realtors. And today we are having a special open forum, Agents Helping Agents. I'm sure that everybody remembers Sandy. It's our 10-year anniversary. We all experienced different struggles during that period. For me personally, the thing I remember the most is the darkness. I can remember feeling that darkness and it was just so cold and it was never going to end. But we got through it, and we got through it through the help of our neighbors, our family, our friends. And here today, we are gathered so we can help our sisters and our brothers, because we're all in this together, down in Southwest Florida. We have Colleen Camillo, President of Monmouth Ocean Regional Realtors, here with us today. We welcome you, Colleen. We also have special guests, Brenda Connolly. Brenda Connolly owns the Connolly Agency in Avon, and she's also the broker owner at the Bi-Coastal Real Estate down in Naples, Florida. Thank you so much, Brenda. We know you have so much going on right now to take the time and be with us today. And also, we have Wendell Kenny Stuckey, who is also the broker manager of the Connolly Agency in Avon, and also an agent down in Southwest Florida in Naples. Thank you so much, Kenny, for spending this time with us.
Thank you.
Colleen, I know you wanted to tell us a couple of things before we get started and speak to Brenda and Kenny about what's going on down there.
Well, we just wanted to, see how we can help you guys down there. We are going to pop up that QR code so that people will be able to donate to the Realtor Relief Foundation. But I guess we just wanted to discuss, keep it as a casual open forum, what you guys experienced, how it was similar to Sandy, although you guys were a hurricane and we were a superstorm. It's just that the devastation is unfortunately similar. I know you guys are hurting down there. I remember the darkness as well, Marie, being out for 4 days and whatnot. But I remember getting on a bus with the Middletown Police Department to go over to the dry side of the highway to help people who were flooded there from just the way it's some waterway that goes out into the bay that goes from the dry side over to the wet side of the highway and then goes out into the bay. But they were just so inundated. And then that caused what they did to remedy that was they had the Army Corps of Engineers come out in Port Monmouth, and they constructed this whole big gate system down there. So they just had that, what's his name? Phil Murphy, the governor, he was just there. I think it was on Friday that they had toured that and showed how they put up a new dock that went all the way out to the water and whatnot, but just the way they had to build the dunes back up and different roadways and whatnot. So I just wanted to see how that symbolizes with you, Brenda and Kenny down there.
Kenny's there right now. Kenny, do you want to speak specifically to Fort Myers? Because he was actually located in the eye of the storm. I was further south, right off of Naples Bay. So Kenny, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So my wife and I weren't here for the actual storm. We rode it out in New Jersey and then drove in 2 days later after the storm. And we did come into a lot of darkness in the area. I remember driving in downtown Fort Myers and coming over the bridges. It's just, everything was solid black and nobody was on the road. And it was really eerie to come in to our neighborhood and with no lights on and nobody outside or around, and then pulling up to the house and all you hear is generators all around and it's in total darkness. So we got out, we assessed our house. There was just debris everywhere in the house. Power lines were down. Just arriving to the house was really really thankful just getting in here, really, because it was dangerous driving through here with power lines down and so forth. But we managed. We got in, and of course, we were exhausted for driving, so we immediately, rested, and then woke up the next morning and saw the devastation when the sun came up, and we ended up being without power for 11 days. Our water main had broken. Our house was spared of flooding for about 2 inches, but the rest of my street had flooded. My neighbors flooded. They had 8 inches to 3 feet in their homes. Luckily, my home was a little bit more elevated, and my neighbor's home was a little bit more elevated than the rest of the block. So we were fortunate in that respect. So after assessing the damages, helping people locally, with whatever they needed, I came in with, extra materials that I brought down from New Jersey, and we made sure everybody, had generator hookups, made sure, my wife and I cooked hot meals for everybody that was involved in our neighborhood. We invited them over for dinners. But it's slowly right now, it's slowly rebuilding. Everybody's pretty resilient. Everybody's pretty tough. I see a lot of my neighbors. They have most of their inside of their home is out at the street right now. A lot of people have moved in, RVs, campers, motorhomes, even pitched tents in their front yards just to protect their properties and live there while they rebuild. It's really quite something to see down here. It's a lot of devastation. Yeah. And I think the fear is, like both of you with Sandy, is the fear of the unknown. Like, when are you going to get power back? When are you going to get internet back? When are you going to be able to get back to work? When are you going to be able to live in your house again? Things like that. So, it's people down here are pretty resilient, pretty tough, pretty strong, and everybody's going to get through it. So, yeah.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, it's just, we can understand that. We can understand that. And people feel so alone at that time. But with the goodness of the community coming together and cooking a hot meal, I can remember personally, and anybody who has a story that they would like to interject, please feel free to. And I also want to mention the QR code is available to you right there. You can make a donation. You can also send a check. And you can let us know what you donated. You can send that to Joanne Conroy at MonmouthOceanRealtors.com. It's Joanne C. at MonmouthOceanRealtors.com, and let us know that you donated, and it'll be published in our next newsletter. But going on with what Kenny was just saying, I can remember personally, and everybody jump in if you want to. I can remember personally, after 12 days of no power, that I got in my car and I drove north. My son was going to Scranton University, and I drove north. And when I got there, he had a hot meal ready for me. He did my laundry, and I marked that day down because he never did my laundry, just so you know. And he had a warm bed ready for me, and the simplest comforts meant the world. The things that we took for granted every single day. Just amazing. And I also know Brenda's been sending stories about NABOR, the Naples Area Board of Realtors, all that they're doing for their members. They have supplies there, they have food there, they have water there. So anything that we can do as a family, as part of the Realtor family, all of us, everyone is grateful. So Brenda, I know you were telling me some of the things that you faced down there and what you saw. You want to tell us?
Yeah, I waited 10 days to go. I rescheduled a trip. I was going like 3 days after the storm, but I figured it was safer to wait until power was back. So I went on October 10th. And in my building, we're right off of Naples Bay. I'm a mile from Fifth Avenue. And just like the Shark River overflowed here in Avon, Naples Bay completely decimated the area. So all of the homes around me got 3 feet of water. And I was very, very lucky because my condo is on the second floor, and our actually first floor is covered parking. So anybody who had a car in my building lost their car. I lost my car as well. And then we lost our boat slips. The whole property was decimated, pool was destroyed, things like that. But we all felt very, very lucky because we sustained no damage whatsoever to our building. There was 140-mile-an-hour winds in Fort Myers, but we didn't have that heavy wind event in Naples. We just had the surge. And the surge is really what caused, the Sandy damage, and the same thing in Naples. So my area is called Royal Harbor. So I'm right off of Naples Bay. All of the houses around me, completely, all their belongings out on the curb, even 10 days later. I saw more trucks, like double length Mack trucks with people's mattresses, driving by. And it was very sobering to see that because the people around me lost everything. A lot of the shops and restaurants on Fifth Avenue in Naples had severe damage. I actually went over to 3rd Street, which is another neighborhood that I like, area in Naples, to go out, and it was completely empty. Port Royal also sustained severe damage. And what's going on there is we're starting to see land coming up for sale because a lot of these homes were so destroyed that they're actually selling them now, for the land value. So in the end, and then our office building on Fifth Avenue, we were so lucky. We're on 3rd and 5th, and our building had no damage and our office had no damage. So we ended up being incredibly lucky.
Amazing. That's amazing. I know that you had mentioned that one of the biggest challenges for the agents down there is that there's not a lot of property that they can sell, that the homes are destroyed. So it's not just their things that they lost, it's their livelihood. And I can't imagine not having my car. And that's what I heard from friends who live down there also. So many places you see automobiles in water that, when you think about your car every morning, you get up, you get into your car, it's your lifeline. It's your lifeline to your job, to your family, to your friends. To not have that car is a very challenging, devastating experience. And I'm sure, the way the economy is right now, getting a car and the price of cars is very, very high.
Yeah, and then it takes a while to work through the insurance companies, to get reimbursed for your vehicle. Now it's a month and I still haven't been reimbursed for the car, but, luckily, hopefully people had, the coverage to get covered for a rental while they don't have their vehicle. But there's a building near me where 151 cars were destroyed.
Oh, wow.
So that was another thing that you kept seeing, is all these tow trucks just coming to tow the vehicles. Yeah, we had a 4-foot surge into our parking lot. So every vehicle there, didn't make it.
So now, do you, like with Sandy, they did grants, but I guess that was really because it wasn't a hurricane. Now, how do you guys have to deal with that? Like, can you apply for grants to rebuild down there? Will they offer that to you as well, or do you
Kenny?
know, Brenda or Kenny?
I'm sorry. No, I don't. Brenda, you have
Okay.
to answer that?
No, because I haven't researched that because I didn't have any, damage to my condo.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if Liz Scott has her hand up. I see her hand on the thing. Did you want to contribute, Liz?
Yeah, so, I lived through Superstorm Sandy. I live on the river in North Long Branch in a townhome community of 93 units. And I remember the 2 things I remember is the whir of the generators for 15 days. We were without power for 15 days. And the piles of people's lives out back of their garages, just ripping things out. And the one thing that I do want to say to anyone who is in Florida is do your research on what is available to you through FEMA. Make it your full-time job. It was very difficult. I was doing my best to try to find other, people, places to live. I was getting calls as a realtor. And I was really being a realtor first. I mean, we were lucky. We have a 3-level townhome. So, you know, it was rooms on the lower level, and our garage, it was destroyed. You know, no heat, things like that. But our kitchen was intact. So we were very fortunate, and we had moved cars. So our cars were there. So I was doing the best that I could. But what I'm going to tell you is the process through FEMA is the first thing you do is call FEMA. You know, the adjusters came in. Hiring a private adjuster could be a way to go. But I mean, I kind of knew what I was doing from being in real estate, but there were people walking around my community like zombies because they
Yeah.
just didn't know what to do. And it was a good year process to get Sandy funds because flood insurance only goes so far. People think that their contents is going to be covered, and depending on how you're rated, the coverage they gave you may not cover anything. So, you know, you may feel that confidence, but fight for yourself, be your own advocate. And if you can't be, get a private adjuster. And that's really what I want to say is don't give up on any funds, because living in a townhome community, I didn't think we could get any of the REM grants that we got. I was able to. So it supplemented what the flood insurance didn't give us. It helped put us back together and make us whole, but flood insurance will not make you whole. So be prepared for that. And that's my thing, is the education on what you're going to need to know after the shock wears off. And try to keep yourself healthy. That's important. But I think navigating through FEMA, getting as much information as you can, gathering it on the internet, whatever you have to do, but fight for yourself. So that's really all I have to say on it.
That's great advice, Liz. Thank you.
I applied for, when a couple weeks after the storm, I applied for FEMA, and they denied me immediately for any kind of coverage, wanting to know my homeowner's insurance information. They said your homeowner's insurance, go through that first, and anything that they don't cover, then you can reapply for FEMA. But I first applied for FEMA and got denied.
Well, I would keep on that. Now, so do you have flood insurance on your property?
I do.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so after that kicks in, or whatever you get or don't get, and then, but I would stay on top of that, because as it moves along, there will be grants, because you're going to need it no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's probably different because it's a different type of storm. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I had damage every part of the house, from the roof to the siding, to the soffits and fascias, to the paint off the walls, to cracks in the walls, to the dock, the boat. Water did come in on my second story balcony and got in and seeped through to the ceilings in the first floor. You know, some of the flooring got destroyed. The pool cage, the pool was all destroyed. But so part of it was flooding, part of it mostly wind.
Right. So here in this area, you know, I called my homeowner's insurance as well, but there was nothing really for them to cover, because if it's water damage by flood, they're not covering.
Right.
Unless you had like sewage come into your home, and that was something different. So if you had a sewage backup, say you had a bathroom on the lower level and had a sewage backup, it's very different. So I would keep a binder. I would keep receipts for every single thing, whether it be tarps or fans, everything, because you're going to need that. Take a video of everything, pictures of everything, the more documents. And as realtors, you know, we know to do all that stuff, but when it's ourselves, we're in panic mode and survival mode.
Yeah.
And you just want to, okay, let's rip this out, you know, but take pictures of everything and document everything that you can. Even have someone come along with you and document that, because you can't leave that stuff in your house. You just can't. So that would be my advice, and the advice to give your clients. And you're very torn on getting them the help that they need, your clients, but where are you going to go? That is going to be the big problem. Where do these people go?
Well, being a realtor, I've been a realtor down here since '04, and I have a lot of connections with contractors and laborers that work on homes. So I was fortunate in that respect because I could just pick up the phone and get people to answer me and
Right.
help me out right away. And I, of course, shared that with my clients as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very
Tina, I know,
difficult.
did you have something
Yeah.
to say? I'm sorry.
No,
Marie.
go ahead, Colleen.
I thought Tina was trying to say something earlier.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Brenda, up here, I know they have, and I don't know if it's state or federal where the government comes in and buys the property that gets flooded a lot, like the waterfront type of property. And I want to know if there's any discussion about that down in that area.
I haven't heard any discussion on that.
I haven't either.
Maybe that's something that may come. Is it difficult to find contractors for most people though, Kenny or Brenda? Is that a difficult, or people coming down and helping out from other states, or?
It is difficult because every house within our area needs a contractor. Every single house needs a contractor. So it's very difficult. Florida is really hard and strict about people coming in without being licensed and Florida licensed.
Right.
They've arrested a lot of people saying that they were contractors and unlicensed solicitors doing work. So they want to make sure that the licensed contractors get the jobs, And I think we've seen contractors down here from every state in the U.S. I mean, there's been this is one of the largest storms. Being here 41 years, I've never seen a storm hit this area like this one did. But the relief efforts from all the states, from everywhere that I can imagine that we've seen down here, like electric companies, tree companies, garbage pickup companies, all different kinds of other large restoration companies. They're all down here going full force. It's really nice to see.
It is. It's encouraging. It makes
Yeah.
you
And there
feel
are-
not alone. Yeah.
And there are people coming just to volunteer to help out, not even to do it looking for business, but just because they want to help.
Right, and that was the same with Sandy. I remember that there was a lot of large organization groups that came in, like church groups from out of states and stuff like that. But then to Kenny's point, I get what you're saying with the contractors, because a lot of people got taken by people that came in saying they were going to take care of them and help them and then took their money and ran, and they got nothing. So yeah, I understand a lot of that as well. So it's like a double-edged sword. You need the help, but then you want the right help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
I would say the food banks here have been, the Red Cross, they've been a huge part of the relief area here. Like Brenda's point, there's people from all over the place coming down volunteering to help with the relief efforts. That is an amazing feat at itself. Yeah. It's all the food that they're giving away, the supplies. It's been really, really amazing to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw somebody else had posted from Naples, Marissa Damari, and she had they had like trucks in the middle of the street, like pulling out like the trees, like big contractor type machines that were taking all like the dirt out of the street and the fallen trees out of the road. It's just a process to get back to normalcy and try to get all that debris cleared to be able to get to the power lines to get that restored. But you see a lot of it going on, and even the East Coast got hit, because I had a friend who was here during that time, she left, and she was from Atlantic Highlands, and she's living in Ormond Beach, and they got hit on that side when it came back after it passed through Fort Myers and Naples, and it went off towards the East Coast. She got hit with it coming back in, that they got flooded. So now she's going to be relocating back up here.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And
it's
I've seen a lot of that where, especially because if people had, if it was their, you know, their winter residence there, you know, they were getting ready to go back and they have nothing to go back to. I have a client who I sold their home a few months back, and they were supposed to be going into a rental here because in July, they were supposed to be going into a rental here because they want to stay here as well, but wanted to downsize here. And their rental still isn't ready here. So their plan was then, okay, I'll just go back to Florida. Well, they're on Sanibel. So, you know,
Yeah.
that is
Oh,
their
my.
primary residence now. And they didn't know for days of, you know, how hard their home was hit. And they were watching the news and got in touch with a contractor that was on the news that has been very helpful. And they're very fortunate, you know, they have the funds, and their home, basically living space wasn't touched, but the property itself is just destroyed. Trees, palm tree, you know, all the landscaping that was there, their garage, you know, it's still devastation. But you know, it's hard. But I'm seeing even here, there's people looking for rentals here that normally would be in Florida right now. So I'm seeing a lot of the winter. I mean, I guess it's a good time if you have to be stuck here to get a winter rental. And I'm wondering if that's why all the winter rentals here are just being scooped up at a later date than they normally would have been. So, you know, people are going to need housing all over. But I guess my question is to you in Florida is, what can we do here? What do you need the most? Probably funds, I'm assuming. And what can we do for you that would be the most meaningful?
Hmm. Well, God. Brenda, you want to take that?
I just think the funds, I think, you know,
Yeah.
contributing to the fund would really, you know, reach the most people.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
Got
do
it.
most people have power back now?
Power is back. The last people, I'm speaking for the Naples area. I have clients that bought in Pelican Bay, and believe it or not, it's this high-end luxury complex in North Naples. And they were out of power for over 3 weeks. Whereas a lot of us got it back, you know, within the 10 days. It took them a lot longer. They were in, like she said, the 1% that just for some reason was taking longer. But I would say it definitely, you know, in the Naples area, power is back.
Yeah, in the Fort Myers area, I would say 90% of it's back. The Barrier Islands, I hear, are still out. Sanibel, Pine Island, Captiva, some of those areas are still without power.
Brian?
So I just want to say both, by the way, thank you, Brenda and Wendell, for coming on. I know we're recording this Zoom meeting. We'll share it with our members as well as some additional posts. Two things. One, the QR code that's available, you can donate directly to Realtors Relief Foundation. We've our associations, I don't know what the number is now. The last time I knew is a little over $10,000 or right around there that we've donated. Or has been donated through the association. I just shared in the chat box a link that Nick Falco is the new executive director or CEO of the Realtors Relief Foundation. The link that I just shared, you can copy in that chat and you can share it with realtors and or members of the public. This is a link for application to funds from the Realtors Relief Foundation, the grants that have been made available. Florida Realtors under Margie's, their CEO's Margie's leadership is managing the grant and the grant application. But this link I've just given to you gives a direct access to the entire page that talks about the overviews of what they're doing and how to access those funds, how to apply for it. So please share that link with any and all of your agents that you know in Florida who have been affected by it. And that's what we're here for. That's what we do. I mean, that's who realtors are. That's really who we are, and what we do is take care of one another. So
I think it's a great thing that you're doing.
So thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't end here, though. It doesn't end. Hopefully this will be a continuous thing. I mean, Sandy, when you got your power back, or you had heat again, or, people had a bed to sleep in, it didn't end there. It went on, and the needs changed as the time goes on. Initially, you don't have a car, you need to get a home, there are just things that you need to have again. With the holidays coming up, it seems so simple, but having a Christmas tree can make all the difference in the world to a family or to children who have been traumatized by what's been going on in their lives. And the fear that they had to experience that storm, those high winds and that rush of water, not everyone was able to leave. I mean, we sometimes forget that. We sometimes forget that there's people who live there that don't have the funds to go and find a hotel miles away, or the gas to go somewhere, or don't have extended family or friends that they could go to, and had to stay there and experience it. So there's so much. So if we can just continue this and realize that people need help, not just now or not just for the first month, but that they're going to need help in the future, and that we can continue to do this as a part of our family. We all feel that way. I mean, I've always felt that way, that the realtors are family, and helping one another is so important. So if we could just get the word out. So even after this forum ends, that if you spread the word, spread it with your office, spread it to your neighbors. They remember, they experienced it. And please feel free to share your stories right now. This is an open forum for everybody to speak about their thoughts or ideas or anything. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come today.
I mean, I know I remember, not only agents from our office, but from around the area. I mean, so many agents, because we live in this area were affected. But agents bringing us food and, gift cards, all those little things meant so much. Again, we were pretty fortunate, but there are people who are not fortunate at all. And, it was a little different here than there. I think in Florida, it's a bit more devastating, because there is, here you could go to the next town and everything was okay. You could have some normalcy. But if you're like on those barrier islands, everything around you, there's no place to look where things are normal. And I think that's got to be really, really hard, psychologically. And, will it ever end? The thing I can tell you is it will end. And, I wasn't in real estate in 92, but I do remember the storm of 92 here. And that, to me, I remember that very much, because I lived in the area I live in now. And everywhere I drove, there was water still standing, houses destroyed. And what I find is, after about 5 years, the people who lived through it still remember it, but it's faded some. And the real estate market came back after about 5 years. So I would caution your clients against panic selling, because there will be people who come in, yes, I'll give you this for your property right now, and you're done. But it will come back. And when it comes back, it will come back. Everything will be built to a better standard. And I found here what has happened is, it was very smart. And I remember Seabright, they had the minimal building height, and then you had to go 2 or 3 feet above that. Best thing that they could ever do, because, now the maps are going to change. Your insurance costs are going to be, and that's one of the things that I think could be a problem for people, is while they can afford their home, are they going to be able to afford the insurance? I have my client who lived down there was insured to the hilt between homeowners and flood, and, you know, he was telling me it was a total of $22,000 a year for him to be insured. I mean, he was very overinsured. But what he found out was it didn't cover a lot. So, you know, I think that's going forward, that might be the biggest struggle. But rebuilding will happen and it'll come back better and stronger. So I would encourage your clients not to panic sell unless they're just financially distraught and never want to go back again.
You have a great point about the insurance. Last year, the insurance on my building doubled to insure the building, and that was before Ian. So I think insurance is going to be a major concern going forward, you know, having the cost of the insurance. The other thing is a lot of these people, you know, bought the homes years ago and didn't have flood insurance because they didn't need to have it. You know, they own the home
Right.
outright.
Yeah.
But now that the home is destroyed, a lot of these people, you know, will not have the funds to rebuild.
And that's one of the things that, you know, in homes like that, so if they end up getting the FEMA grants because they didn't have flood insurance, what they're going to have to know is going forward, if you receive a grant, you will have to have flood insurance on your home. So even if you don't have a mortgage or whatever it is, if you receive FEMA money, they will require that you have flood insurance on your home. So even if you sell it, that next person will be required to have, if you receive a grant. And if you do get grants, it takes a while for the government to be off your deed. So, you know, I just recently, my stepdaughter bought a home in Oceanport here, and they were still getting that released on that home. You know, the home was
Wow.
raised, they received grants, and it can hold up a sale. So, you know, another thing that you have to keep track of, you know, if you get a grant, you think you're done. Well, until, you know, the state is off your deed, you can't sell your home.
So two more things before I jump off this call along those same lines. One, don't forget also that as people rebuild their homes, their tax value is going to change dramatically. So somebody who lived in a home that perhaps was built 30 years ago and has just come up slowly with appraisal values, when they rebuild that home, it'll be valued on the tax books as a new home. And so if it, you know, if a $300,000 house costs $500,000 to get rebuilt in today's dollars, and the aggregate market goes that way, those appraisals are going to go up. So their taxes will also go up. Not only will their insurance go up, but their taxes will go up. We've seen that in Texas with the hurricanes that we got into the Gulf Coast down there. We saw that every time one hit. And one other thing, just for the realtors practicing down there, particularly business owners, we mentioned Realtor Relief Foundation, and we always think about the individual people. But if you have brokers or owners of buildings, of real estate offices that got damaged, Realtor Relief Foundation also has funds available to help those brokers and who own buildings with funds to help them get their offices back up and going. And a lot of people don't know that, but it's one of the things that we do, not only on the personal side, but on the business side. And so just want to point that out to you. That links for those are also in the chat. That same link has the application process for offices that were damaged. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all being here.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
So going forward, have they started to address, I mean, the same way with Sandy, when the height of buildings, the buildings that have to be raised, have they addressed that? Have they changed that at all? Is that something that people are now dealing with? That the municipalities are coming in and saying you have to raise buildings, or how is that all affecting everyone down there?
I haven't heard about the new codes it's changing yet, but I know if you're going to improve it's the 50% rule. Same down here. So you'd have to go up to FEMA guidelines, Miami-Dade County building codes, if you improve more than 50%.
And something that people, I mean, I'm assuming it's the same here regarding that 50%. It's 50% of the value of the improvements on your lot. So it does not include the lot value. So let's say your lot is worth $300,000. but the improvements on the lot are 100,000. It's 50% of that 100,000. So if you have to put in more than $50,000 into your home, it's going to have to be raised. So, but that'll come later on, but I think it'll be important, and maybe for, realtors to make sure that they're educated on that whole system. So people don't start buying up homes and think that, okay, I can just put in new sheetrock and do this and do that, and it doesn't have to be raised. But I'm sure that, the towns will be up on that, and they're probably used to it more there than they are here. I don't know. But
Yeah,
that was a big confusion here.
I have heard business owners trying to rebuild prior to the code changing. So
Right.
right now, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember here too with the houses. Like, so some people that, again, what did the town come in and assess you, how much damage did you have? So they were trying to get the house cleaned out and quick, do the repairs before the town would come in and assess to say how much damage they had so that they didn't have to raise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So quick question on another note, is Pink Shell still there in Fort Myers?
The Pink Shell still is there. Their pool, of course, was underwater, their beautiful pool, but yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that place.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, Fort Myers Beach took a bad hit. I mean, it's going to take at least a year to rebuild, probably longer. Yeah. And that's going to affect the whole season down here. A lot of people stayed on Fort Myers Beach. A lot of people came to vacation here because of the beaches. We may not have a season this year, being Fort Myers Beach is shut down. Sanibel, is devastated. So I don't know. It's a wait and see kind of thing. But the beaches were definitely devastated down here in Lee County. And I think Naples too. Yeah.
And that was like Belmar here. Belmar had to be rebuilt. Their boardwalk had gotten totally decimated.
Yeah.
And what about the beaches themselves? Has there been a lot of erosion? And
Naples had a lot of erosion.
yeah.
Marco Island
Yeah.
beaches were open within a couple of weeks. I was in Marco on October 12th, and there were people on the beach. But Marco has a much deeper, portion of sand than Naples.
Okay.
Yeah, Fort Myers Beach had erosion. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'm going to try to get out in my boat this week and check out all the beaches and devastation. So I'll let you know.
It's funny that you said that, because I remember one of the things here was so much in the waterways, dumpsters that had floated away, pieces of houses, cars.
And
So
boats.
careful on your boat.
Yeah.
I do remember a lot of treasure hunting, I guess, and, nice stories of people finding family heirlooms and being able to reconnect them with people. And, those are the nice heartwarming things that come out of a bad situation. So hopefully, and there were a lot of people who lost their lives there as well. I mean, that's got to be devastating,
Yeah.
And the people in trailer parks, the trailer communities, I mean, every single one of those had to be devastated.
Yeah.
What do you come back to? So.
Yeah.
That's so true, Liz, because after something like this, there's the emotional and the mental issues that people have to deal with. That doesn't go away. And
Right.
it's very hard to improve on that when you're struggling just to get up in the morning and have hope. Hope is so important. I know for me personally, just saying about hope is everything. If I have hope, I can get through anything. But when you're facing so much devastation, when you're facing the anxiety of what you've lived through, I mean, we all saw the stories on the news of people who are being rescued, and that doesn't go away when you get power back or you have a car again. It's something that stays with people. And And because of things that people have been dealing with prior to this, also with COVID or whatever. So the people are struggling emotionally, aside from that. So that kind of help, I hope, is available to everybody too. And like Liz said about how can we help? I know we can donate money, but do they have helplines for people? Do you know that there's anything that they're doing to address people who are having those types of struggles? Do they make that kind of help available to people? Do you know of that at all, Kenny or Brenda?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Good
they
to
have
know.
a disaster recovery mental health coordinator. So they have
That's-
mental health resources for people.
That's wonderful to know. Yeah, that's so
I
important.
can only imagine that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, a majority of the folks who are living there are definitely, more senior citizens than not. So that's got to be a little more difficult too, because not everyone can navigate all the systems. And, I mean, I know it helped a lot of my neighbors with that, with, just getting to the websites, pointing them to the websites and all of those things, setting up a station where they could charge their phone. We were lucky and we had a generator, although it was so loud. Like whenever I hear that, it just brings back horrible memories. But I remember when the power came on and it was quiet. It was the best quiet that you could have. It really, really was. So I'm sure everyone will get through it, but we're strong people. We're strong people, and stronger, always strong than you think. Because I said to my husband when the storm hit in Florida, I said, if it happened again, I don't know if I could do it again, physically and mentally. And he said, you would do it. When you have to do it, you will do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're down here and you see somebody that's stressed or has a lot of anxiety, like in the Lowe's line or at the shopping center or something, you just got to give them a smile and ask them how they are. And then they appreciate that. Yeah.
Sometimes just a pat on the shoulder or a hug.
Yeah.
Can be
Life-changing.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because so many people are going through the same thing right now. It doesn't matter where you're from or who you are, or it's this, they have the same feelings. So whether you have means or you don't, it's still devastation. And but good will come out of it. You'll see some good things come out of it as well.
That is so true. That is so true. Just a kind word can make all the difference. Brenda, did you want to say something there?
No, I think we've covered mostly everything, right, Ken?
Yeah, I think so. In my area, like in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, we have a city, Cape Coral, that has 400 miles of waterways.
Unknown caller.
Excuse me. 400 miles of waterways, and a lot of homes got flooded. And you're right, we do have a lot of senior citizens in the area that have been there for a long time. And I think I'm hearing a lot of those people, the elderly people, are wanting to get out of the flood zone, the zone A's, and move to higher elevations because they don't want to experience anything like that ever again. So I am hearing some of that as far as a home going up for sale or something like that. Seen some of that. Yeah, people want to get off the water. So.
And then Florida has a very good website. It's called Florida Storm Relief, and they actually give you a step-by-step checklist. So if you've had damage to your home, they lay it out for you on what the first step is.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Because that can be just overwhelming, knowing where to start and what you
Exactly.
need to do. Knowing where to start when you need to start everything. So that's wonderful. And also with NAR, stepping in and doing so much to support the members down there is so important. And having hope, just giving them that hope. I know that the Naples area, again, Brenda had sent me different articles, that they had still do have a charging station, but not everybody's able to get a computer. You know, not everybody has access to that computer. I don't know if there's ever anything we could do to help people with a program like that. You know, that's something that's so important. And nowadays, your computer's your lifeline. I mean, you do everything there. You pay your bills, you communicate, it's so important to have that computer.
Yeah, I remember helping someone because they didn't have the computer and they were on the base side of, the highway, and they had gotten flooded and they were just overwhelmed and devastated and didn't know where to start. And I didn't honestly either. I mean, I was more inland, so I, thank God, did not get flooded, just had, the power outage. But to be able to help them, you're trying to figure out, and like you said, just get onto FEMA and then try to apply for the grants for them. But they're overwhelmed and they're devastated. And like you said, if they don't have their computer, how are you doing anything?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people might need help that way too.
That's so true, Colleen. So true.
Especially the realtors, on the barrier islands that lived on Fort Myers Beach and just sold on Fort Myers Beach. Same with Sanibel, Captiva, all of those realtors. I mean, they pretty much lost everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a limited area, but they took the force of the
Yeah.
brunt
I
of it.
remember
Yeah.
they gave our board at the time helped out members who were affected by that, like that they waived their dues. So maybe hopefully Florida will do something similar for you guys as well.
Florida's doing the same. They're doing the same thing. Like if your renewal was due in September, they extended it to October, and now they extended it, through, I think it's November or December. So
good.
they've been wonderful. The Florida realtors have been terrific.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's so good to hear. And anybody who's on who'd like to share a story about what they experienced during Sandy or any information like Liz that's given us a wealth of information, and please feel free. This is an open forum for anybody to be able to participate. And we really appreciate everybody taking the time to do this. We all get so caught up in our lives and what's going on around us that for you to do this, it's very grateful, very gratifying to all of us. I know I just saw Jeanette come on, and I know Jeanette, I know you did a lot after Sandy for people. I'm sure that you experienced it. I know all of us did. All of us in some way or shape or form have experienced this, and very grateful to just be able to help.
And then seeing everything on the news recently, just brings it all back because of it being the 10 years. And you see those images, like I'll never forget, there was a house on West Front Street in Union Beach, and they backed up right to the water, to the bay. It was so odd of how this house stayed standing, but half of it did. Only half. The right half of the house stayed standing. The whole left half of the house was gone. And it came up as it was like one of the most photographed pictures of Sandy, because it was so amazing. It was crazy.
That was one of those iconic photos that, when you saw that, you knew exactly where it was. Exactly where it was. But that Bayshore area here is just one of those areas that you can see now is coming back better than ever.
Yeah.
It was really hard hit. Many of the people there didn't have the means to rebuild and things like that, but now it's coming back better and stronger. So I think any place that's been devastated like that, if the people can come together but it is hard on the people who have lived there forever and now can no longer afford to live there. That's the flip side of it. Like you said, the taxes, the insurance, all of those things. If you can rebuild, you've got a better place to live. But if you can't afford to live there, what can you do? So as long as people know what their options are, and they can maybe move someplace else, it's just a hard time for everyone with the economy the way it is, so. Now, are there grocery stores open? Are they lacking?
Publix was open pretty quickly after
Okay.
the storm.
And are they giving like water and things like? that?
Water, yeah,
station?
there's a whole slew of companies that really were offering lots of things, to the people there.
Yeah.
Publix was one.
One
Yeah,
of the
Publix-
things I do
Publix
remember
First, yeah.
was I was never so happy to have a bologna sandwich. There were people coming around giving us sandwiches, and there were, a container with bologna sandwiches and some potato chips, and standing in line with everyone, just everyone was the same, getting ice. Going to a gas station and they're hand pumping, gasoline for your generator, and you waited a couple hours in line, but you got to know people pretty well when you're waiting for gasoline.
Exactly.
So I'm
How
glad
is the situation with gasoline, by the way? Are you finding that, are there long lines for gas now, or?
It was for the first week and a half, and then it started getting better. And now it's pretty much back to normal now.
That's so good.
Gas is like $3.27 a gallon for regular.
Okay,
that's good that they're not gouging you.
that's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheaper there than here.
Yes, it is. It is. And building supplies, are they available? I mean, the Home Depots and the Lowe's and all those types of businesses, they have the supplies that they need for people?
They do, and they were really good. They brought in a lot of supplies right from the beginning. It was pretty amazing, and happy to see that Lowe's and Home Depot were both on it as far as getting supplies to their location. They filled their parking lots up with 2x4s and wood
Wow.
sheathing and insulation and drywall, and yeah, it really was impressive. Those companies were impressive. For sure. Yeah. And they still are. They
Yeah,
got the tool rental trailers right out in front. They have everything there. It was great. Yeah, they were fantastic.
it's great. Starting to see a little light.
And they did bring a lot of people in from up north to help, with the overload. I was meeting people from Louisiana and Jacksonville and North Carolina, South Carolina, all of these box stores. So there was a lot of help there, which from out of state. So that was nice.
Good. And appliances and things like that. Are they available for people? Refrigerators and washers and dryers and clean clothes. Major
Yeah.
to be able to wash your clothes, something you'd avoid and take for granted, but those types of things are available, Kenny or Brenda?
Yeah, no, they're really not. It's still
Yeah.
a wait. Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that are, but a lot of things that still aren't available as well. It's could be a slow process.
They weren't available before due to the COVID backlog, but
Yeah,
now, but hopefully that'll change. Hopefully things will start to ease even more as time passes, and you think it won't ever go faster, but eventually a little hope every day, whether getting your electric or being able to get a car or going back to work. Are people able to go back to work generally, or are a lot of the people in the area, their businesses are not there anymore for them, or maybe there's other jobs that people can do now, other forms of making a living. And do you see that?
I would say everybody is trying to get back to work. I'd say the majority of the people are back to work. Probably a few businesses that aren't. Like downtown Fort Myers, there's still some businesses that are shut down that are in mitigation or they're held back from insurance companies, But for all in all, I think everybody's back to work, trying to get open and get back to work. Yeah. I see a big improvement though.
And what about as an agent? How do you see your business now? And what changes have you had to make in order to plan for the future in real estate?
Well, it's an ever-changing market. I think it's changing right now. Just because there's so many people trying to that been displaced, trying to find property and a place to live. But I think once it settles down, I think we're going to be back to normal. I think the prices will go back to where they were. Inventory is starting to rise now. So, we're coming into season down here. So it's an ever-changing market, as you know, with the interest rates still high and inflation and all that is a big factor to it. So it's all, just got to stay above it and stay abreast and, watch the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for us selling in Florida, January, February, March, and April are usually our busiest months. During COVID, there was no such thing as that. It was always busy. So I think the sooner, especially in the Naples area, that everything gets cleaned up, we're hoping we won't be impacted that much in sales, but the inventory level has been a challenge, post COVID. So we'll have to see how many homes really were impacted, by the flooding. So I think that, our inventory level will likely be lower.
And you see that already the thoughts of rebuilding and what's going to come. Are the hotels available still? Can people still come down, and there's areas that they can stay within that Naples, and is there places
Yeah,
that people can come to?
There's hotels in Naples, but they're incredibly expensive. So I don't know that that's going to be a good option for everyone. We'll have to just see.
Maybe some people are just finding a way to even stay in a hotel. They can't find a place to live, and to hear that they're very expensive, that could be so hard.
Yeah.
Well, we're very grateful that you took the time to be with us today. We know you have so much going on, and again, with our anniversary with Sandy and bringing back those memories, or people who still, I know there's still people who are rebuilding their lives from that. I mean, it sounds silly, but I remember I spoke to an agent who had so much difficulty getting the money to do what she needed to do and to rebuild her life and find her way through all of it. It's a difficult challenge, but there's always people who want to help, and there'll always be support from people, and we all come together and really do what needs to be done. And don't hesitate to let us know what you need.
Jeanette.
Well,
Jeanette's got
we're
something.
very grateful that you took the time and wanted to do this. Coming from our local board here in New Jersey, we're incredibly grateful
Yes.
that everyone took the time and wants to help our fellow realtors in Florida. So we're all very appreciative.
Great.
Yeah.
I know Jeanette had something to say. Sorry.
I just wanted to say that during Sandy, I was very involved in an emergency services standpoint. I don't think I went home for 2 weeks. And if you just ask people or put it out on Facebook or have family members put it on Facebook, everyone wants to help, but nobody knows what to do, and nobody wants to double or give people things that they don't need or want. So if you're very specific about your needs, they'll be filled. You just have to put it out there, but and don't be afraid to ask for something, because if somebody can't do it, they won't. But you would be surprised at how generous and connected people are once you give them the opportunity. So that's all.
No, that's so true. That's so true, Jeanette. And for some people, it's very, very difficult to ask for help. I mean, it's not an easy task, you're in a difficult position emotionally, and then to have to ask others for help, that can be very hard, but that's so true. And I can imagine you personally being in EMS, you saw it all in 2 weeks not to be home. Yeah, that's a lot to handle. Anybody else would like to share a story or their thoughts? No? Okay. Well, we appreciate all of you being with us today. Colleen, I know that during Sandy and after Sandy, you were very much a part of the community working together. And you had mentioned being with the police department and.
Yeah, it was tough to see how other people were affected by it. I'm getting upset. the parts of Liz had mentioned before, some of those areas, those people do not have the funds to do what they needed to do. And it was very sad to see that. And it's still sad because, again, like you said, sorry, I get so emotional with this
No.
stuff, but it's like they're still rebuilding 10 years later. You know, Port Monmouth is still not all back. They're still rebuilding, but it was different things that people needed. So again, yes, seeing all of their lives out on their front lawn, just waiting to go to garbage is horrible to see that. And then the kids that are affected and what do they need, and just like, you know, a hug or to say hello. And it was like little things that we were doing after that, like they were garbage bags, bottles of Lysol, Clorox cleanups, paper towels, water, just things that people need that, again, like you say, no one wants to ask this because they don't want to feel like, you know, that they're burdening people or whatnot, but ask because people do want to help. And like Jeanette said, don't know where to help, you know? So that was my way of helping, was to jump on the bus with them because they took over and they knew it was the emergency management system for Middletown. So they were on the ball, you know, and just amazing. But again, clients that I had in Union Beach, and they're just devastated. And, you know, that area was so hard hit as well. You know, it's just, it's heart-wrenching to see it, but and again, resilience and stay strong, and we all come through it together, you know?
Yeah.
Liz, you wanted to say something? Thank you, Colleen. That came from your
Thank
heart.
you. Sorry.
We know that. Liz, did you have something you wanted to
Wishful.
mention?
I just wanted to finish out with, again, just, you know, reach out to your neighbor, your client. You know, maybe it's a client that you sold a home to 10 years ago and you know they were probably affected or not affected. Give them a call, say, you know what, I'm thinking of you. If I can be your resource, let me know. Because I felt a little guilty at some points where I had sold someone a home on the, you know, near the water or in a flood zone. And, you know, now I felt guilty, you know, but reach out to them. They will appreciate it, and just say, you know, I want you to know that I'm here. And once you have a client, I mean, this is the way I am. Not that they're my family, but they're part of my tribe, you know, and I want them to be a client forever. So they're not just a client. They're, especially when there's an issue like this, they're human beings. And we all have feelings. And so, you know, reach out and touch someone. It sounds corny, but I think
But true.
it is important. And not just today, because you know what, there will be services today for people, but a month down the line, or 6 months down the line, a year down the line, that fades away. You know, people, not that they forget, they put it, there's other things that are more important. We have holiday season coming up.
Right.
You know, and it happened the same time here. I mean, I'm going to say this, that, okay, so Saturday was the Sandy anniversary. It was my son's wedding that day. And I couldn't help but think, as we're standing outside and they're taking pictures, and it was the most beautiful day, And I do remember, you know, my son was 10 years younger and he was living with us. And I remember him saying to my husband, because they came back that morning and I didn't come back, and just saying, you cannot tell my mom what this looks like. You cannot call her and tell her what this looks like. And I wouldn't stay, because I said, if I see water come in my house, I'm not coming back. And I made my family leave. My husband wanted to stay, and I made him leave, and I'm glad I did. But
Yeah.
standing there this past Saturday, it was surreal, because I remember going down to the boardwalk the day before, and you know, just seeing everything it was a mess already. and then after. So, and now everything is put back together. The weather was beautiful. So that was a good feeling. That's all I have to say.
Thank you
Before
for
I
sharing
go
that, Liz.
I think Tina
you for
wanted to
that.
say something.
Tina?
I'm
you
sorry,
wanna-
I was muted. I understand your emotions, Colleen, with thinking back
Sorry.
to the way it was.
No,
but,
don't be
you know,
sorry.
I recall the there was an empty Bradley's and an empty supermarket on Route 36, and these trucks just
that.
rolled in with all kinds of stuff on it and unloaded it. Because I worked there for days, unloading this stuff and sorting through the stuff, and then continuing on to go and help people rebuild their houses and paint and do whatever we could. But to see that house floating down the river was
Crazy.
just mind-boggling to me. I just like, oh my God, you think of what goes out west with the tornadoes and the fires and things that they have, and we don't have that. But when Superstorm Sandy hit us, we haven't had that kind of destruction in ages. So
Yeah.
it's something that in our minds we will never forget.
Right.
Absolutely. And also to mention about the emergency services, the police department, the fire department, the people driving ambulances. I mean, they didn't go home.
Right.
They didn't go home. They were weeks of, even though they didn't have a place to go home to either, all those people gave so much of their lives. And I'm sure in Florida, the same way, rescuing people. I mean, what we saw on TV with the people, I remember one elderly lady in a wheelchair who was just trying to keep her head above water, and people risked their lives going in to save them, and the goodness of people. That's one thing that I remember about all of this is in the darkness, there was goodness. And there always will be good people that will reach out. And maybe that's something we can all consider this year with the holidays coming up. And instead of doing that grab bag gift, maybe we donate some money or we think about somebody down there who could use an iPad, or who knows. There's so much that we can all do to help. And this has just been a great way to reach out and speak to each other. And Colleen, those tears come from all of us. And it's so clear that everything you do comes from your heart. And thank you for that. And
Thank you.
and I also want to mention, everybody's still here. I want to thank Joanne Conroy, who did so much to make this happen, and also comes from her heart. And Corinne Schultz, who's always there and always taking care of things. She monitored this today. We really appreciate all the effort that you put into this and bringing everybody together. And Brenda and Kenny, I've said thank you to before, but to take the time out with everything you have, your struggles right now, managing your businesses, it's very grateful that you took the time to share your thoughts and your stories and to make us more aware of what's going on down there. Thank you again.
And
Really
as
appreciate it.
As your time goes on, please let us know what you guys need as things change, so where we can help you.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people down here that migrated from New Jersey to Florida.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot of New Jerseyans. They call this, down here South Jersey. So,
How's the pizza? How are the bagels? That's the
Yeah.
important
That's
stuff.
good.
Yeah, that's the
Pizza's getting
important
better,
things that
yeah.
everybody up here, they want to know that before they go anywhere. Well, how's the pizza down there?
yeah, right.
Yeah, I remember I used to live, honestly, years ago, my parents bought a motel on the West Coast on Gulf Boulevard, Reddington Beach. And I remember the time that I wasn't living there at this one period when they had to evacuate. And my sister happened to be down there with her baby. Simple things like not having diapers and having to go and live with friends. I mean, you're friends, but when you move into a home and you bring your family with you, people opening their homes to others, it was just amazing what those people did to help others sustain. And we're all in this together. I know I said that before, but we're all in this together and we're no different. We just happen to be in a different place when something happens. So again, thank you all for your participation. And we will stay in tune with you to see if there's anything that we could personally do to help you aside from donate. And please put the word out, that QR code. And I also want to mention that if somebody would like to send a check, you can send a check to Realtors at Relief Foundation at 430 North Michigan Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, 60611. We'll have this posted for you with Joanne's amazing newsletter that comes out every Monday. This information will be available. And please don't let this end here. Please take this with you out into your offices, into your communities, and spread the word that there are people who need help. So thank you for that, all of you. Very grateful.
Thank you. And we're grateful and thankful for you, Marie, for all you do and
Yes, thank
organizing this as well. Well
Yes.
done.
If it wasn't for Joanne and Corinne, it wouldn't have been. So thank them both.
Great group effort.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Best of
Thank you
luck.
so
Please stay
much,
safe.
everyone.
So long. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.